regarding that. I haven't had a chance to follow through with it, but I've collected a lot of information and hope someday to put that together.
Someday is now.
Well, yeah.
Doing a painting in oil and acrylic, how do you reproduce it into commercial products like cups, screensavers, images that can be used for the computer, posters? How are you looking at reproducing that now? Has anything changed?
Not really. I mean, I still entertain the idea of doing some of that. You have to do it with somebody who's going to take the work, in an association.
You mean like the Rainmaking company?
Something like that.
Yeah.
I've rumors about that.
Yeah, it's a rumorful place,
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that John Oberdorf has donated 11 paintings to its Rainmaking time, and we will be doing a sale on his paintings. I am in love with his work. We will be posting images of the paintings, the name of them, for sale, and we hope that one of the ways that you support the show and John is to purchase them, and if you know people who would be interested, to let us know. We would really appreciate that. Those are ancient-looking paintings, very much Southwest landscape, Dali-esque, definitely presences some type of otherworldly feeling when you look into the painting.
The work that you have of mine covers kind of a different range, from straight landscape, surreal-like, to images where you're looking at a rock wall or something and petroglyphs are staring you in the face. Do you have about 11 of those?
I will recount them, but I think I have 11 in total.
Right.
Yes. What is it that makes art art? What makes something art to you?
Well, art is what we say it is. Basically, Picasso said it himself. He said, "What is not art?" It's a matter of people's opinion about what art is. And that covers a wide range these days, from the red dot on a white canvas to grandma's painting of a little yellow ducky. There are so many different varieties of art, and there are a lot of people out there who are in positions of making their livings describing what they think art is. They're called critics. And there are lots of them. And so the way we look at art is basically the way we look at our personal world. Things that people like is what they relate to. There's no one thing that can be said to make up art. I have my own idea of what art is, and I paint it. It's not something you can really put into words, but it comprises a number of things. The way I learned basic principles of how to draw and how to reproduce images on a two-dimensional surface, the basic principles of perspective, as I mentioned before, and composition and color theory and the use of dramatic light, any number of things are tools that we use to comprise an image on a surface. Whatever we put of ourselves into that, we call art.
What's your fascination with Dali?
I think his technical ability was what fascinated me the most about him. I didn't always relate so much to some of the distorted dream imagery, which is what they call a lot of classical surrealism, or the depiction of the artist's psyche on canvas, kind of images from our wild dreams, which end up very distorted sometimes. But I really appreciated the way his technical ability was put into play. He was definitely a master of his materials.
Do you think that conversation is an art?
I think it is, but I also think it's a necessity. It's our basic way of communication. We have to have communicative skills, and speaking is a very basic part of that, communicating with people, talking to them. For an artist, of course, the most important way of communicating is with what they produce visually. But it can be done through conversation, it can be done through art, through music, literature, poetry.
In my world, my little world, conversing, communication is an art and a science.
Mm-hmm.
And through speaking and good communication, you can produce alchemy in someone's life.
Well, that's true. I think you're right.
But because it's the spoken word, unless it's captured, it goes into the air particles. Whereas in your line of work, it manifests itself on canvas. So the way my artistry, for example, manifests is in the spoken word. I'm wondering, what does alchemy have to do with your work?
Well, alchemy basically is changing the state of one thing into another and producing something. There's a Hermetic saying that thoughts have wings.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah. That what we put into play mentally produces things physically. I think even more now science is finding that the human mind will produce a physical manifestation and cause certain reactions and things to happen on, let's say, a subatomic level maybe, but maybe in other ways as well. Maybe we don't realize the power we have to create something from nothing, so to speak. The alchemists traditionally were known for being able to turn base metals into gold, supposedly. Who knows if any of them were ever able to achieve something like that. But I think that it's true that the human mind produces physical, tangible results.
Absolutely. I notice you have, or you had, a beautiful painting of what looks like Apollo. The guy with the helmet on. It was a black and white.
Oh.
Remember that?
Yes, I think I do. It was black and white. It was actually a drawing in ballpoint pen.
Okay, gorgeous.
I believe. And that was an image that I did of Prometheus.
Prometheus. Talk about Prometheus. What's your interest in Prometheus?
Well, Prometheus is one of the Greek demigods, one of the titans who warred with the gods and brought fire to mankind, fire being knowledge in our interpretation of it, and was punished by Zeus and chained to a rock. Zeus allowed an eagle to come and, this is not one of the most friendly details, but allowed him to eat at his liver every day. And after he did that, then the liver would grow back, and then he was punished again for it in eternity, supposedly. But the idea of gods or demigods giving knowledge to mankind is something that goes back into the mists of prehistory. The Greek mythology is not the only one that has images of things like that. So that's what Prometheus is about.
And you sold that picture, didn't you?
Quite a long time ago, actually.
That was gorgeous. That was gorgeous.
I had a lot of fun with ballpoint pen and still do. I haven't done a lot of it lately, but it's one of those instruments. I think it was a basic Bic pen. You can do things with it you can't with any other type of drawing material.
For sure. What is your take on what the imagination is and isn't?
Oh, gosh. We would have to suggest that imagination is everything to us. There's nothing that it isn't, because there may be nothing that we can't imagine. The human mind is capable of many things, but it's absolutely essential for us. And if we didn't have it, we would be grazing in a herd somewhere, probably. It's our imagination that produces everything that we are, basically, as a civilization, from art to technology. If you listen to Einstein, he would tell you that he found that his gift of imagination was more important than anything.
Than knowledge, even.
In terms of coming up with the theories that he had. He allowed these things to spark into being. I think he thought of the theory of relativity while lying out in a boat in a lake. We would be nothing without it.
When you are painting, do the images come to you in their completion? Or do you find that you're interpreting in spur of the moment? Do you get full pictures of what comes into you as an artist?
Well, sometimes I get full pictures, but when I paint them, they never end up the way I originally conceived them, because they do change as I go along. The painting starts talking to you after a while and telling you what to do. And if you're not paying attention or you're fighting against it, then you're really not painting. You're struggling. So I always pay attention to what the canvas is telling me, and I find things. I'm constantly searching for things, correcting mistakes a lot of the time, things that don't seem to work. I'll paint something in for a couple of days and then decide it doesn't work, and I'll have to paint it out. And you have to be kind of ruthless in a way to do that, but if it doesn't work, it doesn't work. So it constantly changes for me. And then finally, I decide when enough is enough, when it seems to be done. You can overpaint also.
When you say that the canvas talks to you, that reminds me of poets and writers, that the pieces come into them, it's almost alive. Talk about that.
Well, that's kind of what we would call the muse. Poets always paid attention to the muse, the inspiration. That's another Greek origin there where they get their ideas. There's an artistic muse in a way, and it's basically our own mind. If we're allowing it to work and allowing our imagination to work, the images will come through. And we can be inspired by all sorts of things. Anything can spark it. My interest in prehistory has sparked a number of painting ideas for me, and I tend to pay close attention to that when something is trying to break into my waking world.
Do you find that you ever run into the same thing?